What is up, guys? This is me, Amish Hammer, back with another one take tutorial. Today, we are going over one of my favorite um, codexes. It's our second to last one. We only got one left after this. But today, we are going over the fencing codex. So let's do this. We are gonna. It's not the most versatile codex, but I will say it is definitely my favorite weapon codex out of all of them, other than parry, but that doesn't count as a weapon. So let's get right into this, guys. First, chilling in my new house. Hope you guys like it. I didn't feel like going to find a special location today, so we're at my place. First, we're gonna do aggression. So, for once, this one is actually different than most of the other ones. So with aggression on fencing, it increases your attack speed by 2.5% per rank, but the player still takes a 1% increase of damage from all types of damage per rank. So I mean, you're still getting a decent chunk of speed increase, but you're only getting a 7% damage increase, like the damage you take. So if you're tanky, it's not bad because you're just going to be swinging like crazy. You don't really have to worry about the damage coming in if you're tanky. So if you want to go straight DPS and just blast out a bunch of hits, constant hits, definitely recommend aggressive. It's fantastic. You can't really go wrong with it. Next, we're doing aggressive. Don't know why these are all out of place, but there you go. We'll move it back down. Defensive is weapon swing increases. Weapon swings increase your damage resistance to all enemies by 4% per rank. So same as all the other ones. Slightly different damage percentage. I think wrestling is 6% or something, but pretty much the same thing as everyone else. Every time that you attempt to swing, you're getting a 4% damage resistance bonus per rank. You don't successfully need to hit. Just as long as there's an attempt made, then you're going to get that damage resistance for the next 5 seconds. And with fencing, none of the weapons take longer than, I think, 2.5 seconds to swing. So, I mean, you're always going to have the damage resistance buff. I think it will reset itself, even though the 5 seconds isn't up. It just means you're always going to have that. I might be wrong, so just take that with a grain of salt. Next, cleave. So cleave, pretty much like every other codex, you deal 8% damage per rank towards 2 random enemies, or towards a random enemy within 2 tiles. So if you're attacking one mob and another one comes and starts attacking you, if it's within the 2 tiles, then you will hit both of those for an increased percent of 8 damage per rank, which isn't too bad. I mean, it's very nice to go farming with a group, and if someone is tanking and they taunt a bunch of things together, this is going to do a lot of AoE damage for you. Next, we are doing my personal favorite, Blackguard. So Blackguard is very special for fencing. It's the only way you can do diseases other than the death proc from Death Aspect, at least with weapons. So what this does is every hit has a 4% chance per rank to inflict a disease on a target that deals 200% of that damage over the next 30 seconds. Now, that might not sound crazy because it's only a 4% chance per hit per rank. So at tier 7, I am pretty sure it's a 28% chance that you will get a disease on hit. And diseases are just like bleeds with swordsmanship, but you don't require arms lore to have your weapon special chance to go off. With this, it just happens. You just have to have the weapon skill and tactics to be able to use the Codex. But the crazy thing is, Blackguard / the disease has an infinite stack. So if you hit 4 times in a row and that 28% chance goes off all 4 times, then you have 4 diseases stacked for the next 30 seconds, basically. So it can really stack up. And the crazier thing is, it scales with the damage that you do. So if you're using a Chris and you're smacking away super fast with Blackguard, you're going to stack up a lot, but you're not going to do too much damage with the ticks. Whereas you can go with a Pitchfork, which is 2-handed, and it has a innate damage bonus because it's 2-handed. So then from there, every time you hit, the damage is going to scale with that, which is great. But this also works with backstabbing. So if you guys have not seen my backstab video, it goes over this. It goes over Blackguard, and it gets a little crazy. So if you're doing a backstab, even though it doesn't scale the odds of you getting the hit off, a 28% chance, that's pretty much 1 in 4 you should be getting a disease, technically. So if you're getting a backstab off that does 2,000 damage with that disease, and it scales it by 200% for 30 seconds, that's doing 4,000 damage pretty much instantly. Which gets very, very crazy. I really hope this red is not coming in my house. Alright, sorry about that. A little ramble and distraction. But yeah, disease is definitely, or Blackguard, definitely my #1 recommended for this. It also works fantastically with Blackguard, because if you're running Blackguard or fire aspect, if you're running fencing and you're stacking a bunch of diseases and you have fire armor on, every hit you're probably going to proc a flame strike, but all the diseases will also have a chance to scale or set off a flame strike. So you're constantly just kicking off these flame strikes that just adds to the damage. It's fantastic. Okay, next. Fang. So Fang is very unique. This one is to encourage people to play a poisoner with fencers instead of just doing it with magery or something. This is the I guess you can call it the de facto stance for poisoning. So what this does is it increases the damage per rank by 6.5 if your weapon is coated in poison with greater or higher. So it at tier 7, that is that's a pretty big chunk of damage increase. So if you're running a Pitchfork that also gets the 20% bonus from being a 2-hander, and then you also have Fang tier 7, you're getting a giant damage increase on every one of your hits. It does not scale the damage of your poisons, at least to my knowledge. So you'll just still get the same damage that your poisons normally do, but every one of the hits that you're doing with your weapon is also scaled to a massive amount, which is definitely a very good thing if you are poison focus, because if you're going to run with a poison build, you should have damage to poison creature links. If you have the option to do that, which will also increase the damage that you put out. So it just scales the damage that you do constantly. It's a fantastic ability. Unfortunately, recently, I don't know if it's not really worded in here. It might be on the Wikipedia, but I'm almost certain that Luthieus patched it to the point where you have to have poisoning to be able to use this, because in the past I would be able to get a pitchfork that had lethal poison on it without zero poisoning. Well, with zero poisoning, and then I would always have that bonus. So I would never run out of poison because I can't use lethal. So I would just have a straight damage bonus constantly. It might still be that way. I think they nerfed it or they patched it, so I will get back to you guys in the comments about that. I'll check it up after this video. Okay, next we're getting on to the finishers. So we're going to assassinate first. So assassinate, I have a love-hate relationship with this ability because it's very underwhelming in normal PVM. But for bosses, it can get pretty spicy. So let me just read what the ability does first. It inflicts 400% damage immediately, or it inflicts 400% damage and immediately resolves up to an additional 500% damage, additional worth of disease and poison ticks caused by the player remaining on the target. So that's a little confusing. I still get confused by it sometimes, but basically, from what I understand, is while you're hitting and you're causing diseases, and if you're a poisoner, you're stacking poison and disease. So if you get the assassinate off, it does an additional 500% of that damage. So if you have assassinate off right as you get a poison, or right after you get poison off, and it has a 10 ticks left, then the 500% of those 10 ticks combined in one hit, which could get really spicy. That could do a lot of damage. But for me, someone that doesn't have poisoning, I have to rely on the black guards. And the black guards, like I said, scale with the damage that you're doing. So if I am running around with a warfork like I have on my character right now, my black guards are not doing insane amounts of damage, but they're stacking up. So if I get a assassinate off, it wipes all those out, but it's not a massive amount of damage. So sometimes I'll get a finisher for maybe, if I'm lucky, 2,000 damage, but 9 times out of 10 I will get a assassinate that only does like 150 damage. So that's why I said it's a love-hate thing. It seems very, very underwhelming to me. I try and run assassinate all the time, and it just is. It always is disappointing, and I feel bad for saying it, especially on a video. But it's just I have a hard time using it because I find it just it's always a letdown compared to the other one. So now we'll get to the other one. We're gonna do Flurry, which I personally think is a lot better. So Flurry increases the weapon speed by 20% for 30 seconds. If bonus will bring player above max swing speed cap, any excess will be converted into melee damage bonus. Just fantastic. But this finisher is very special because I'm pretty sure it is the only finisher out of all of them that carries over to other creatures. So instead of doing a direct damage, it buffs the character for 30 seconds. So you get a 20% swing speed bonus for the next 30 seconds. So you can get your finisher off, and then when you hear the sound and see the notification that it went off, you can run to another creature and start attacking that. For the next 30 seconds, you're going to have a massive swing speed bonus, which also stacks with aggressive, so you're swinging even faster. And if you're running this as a warrior and you have a chivalry like I do, you can use Divine Fury. You can do air aspect. But anytime you get that off, if you're above the swing speed cap, which I think is 60%, I think. Don't quote me on it. I don't know exactly off the top of my head. If you are above the swing speed bonus, that just goes straight in the damage bonus, which could be fantastic if you're running a poison fencer build with a pitchfork, because one, you're getting that damage bonus for it being two-hander. Then you have Fang, which is increasing the damage even more. So if you're somehow able to cap out your swing speed with that, you're just adding more damage increase to your weapon, which is just very fantastic. It gets a lot of damage off very, very quick. Or you could be like my friend Bobby and be very annoying and only run with a Chris and run aggressive and flurry and make this very obnoxious sound of the Chris swinging every like half a second. It's deafening, but if that's what you're into, I definitely recommend giving it a try. Now let's go to some aspect stuff. What I would do. Okay, so we're gonna pull this up. We're gonna pop out all aspects. Okay, so like I was saying, air aspect, obviously. I mean, if you're going for DPS, this is probably a very good one. You're going to swing extremely fast, which stacks up with flurry and aggressive, like I just said. So you're going to do a lot of damage. Next, you could do artisan for a weapon if you want the damage bonus and damage resistance, but a artisan is very expensive and it doesn't do any damage when you proc. It just increases, it just buffs you and your party. So that one's a little iffy. If you're rich and you have the money for it, then go for it. Blood, actually, one I would recommend, kind of an interesting build that you can do is run blood armor with blackguard, so then you're constantly getting diseases and bleeds stacking like crazy. And then when the mob is under 50%, you're doing even more damage because of the bonus from the armor. So that is definitely a way that you can go. Another one, I haven't really tested this. This is a spicy theory craft. I haven't tested it. But with death aspect, if you potentially have that as your weapon, so death aspect on your weapon, and you get that proc off, the proc causes a disease for the next 30 seconds. I think it's 30 seconds. So while that's going, if you get the proc off before you can get the assassinate off, it should, in theory, just completely end the disease ticks into a giant hit of maybe 3,000 to 4,000 damage if you're lucky. I don't know. Haven't tested it. Discipline. So this one's interesting. I personally run discipline armor all the time. I also run the weapon. But for this, I would recommend the armor. Not because of the cooldown finisher, because you can't really chain either of these finishers. One relies on poison and disease. The other one doesn't stack. So you can't really The cooldown finisher, kind of pointless with that. But the increased damage to your weapon special is fantastic because the fencing weapon special also increases your damage and the chance that you're going to hit the mob. Especially if the mob is poisoned or diseased, you do even more damage. So if you're stacking that, and then every time you get a weapon special off, it increases the initial hit of that fencing weapon special. So if I'm hitting for 300 and I get a weapon special off while everything's already stacked on it, it's going to hit for like 400, 500 in a single hit. And that's not with a bard or anything helping you out. So definitely recommend that. That's a good one. Earth aspect, always going to recommend it. It's durable. It does good damage. You get a 225% damage increase randomly. So if you have a poison weapon with Fang and it's a pitchfork or a short spear or a long spear, anything that increases your damage output as well as Flurry, and you're just stacking those hits in, it can do a very large chunk of damage. So I definitely recommend that. And you're extremely tanky for Earth. I just tanked 3 demons earlier, and I was only getting hit for 3 to 4 damage a hit. So I could apply a band-aid way before they could damage me too much. The Eldridge proc is pretty interesting with fire armor. Wouldn't really recommend it because Eldridge is kind of expensive, and it only really works if you are fighting solo monsters. If the damage gets split up on Eldridge, it's really, really weak. But if you're using Eldridge and fire against a single mob, and you get the diseases stacking and Eldridge procs, then everything that hits that single creature is gonna proc a flame strike, which is fantastic. Flat fire, just by itself, fantastic. It does a lot of damage. The supernova, or whatever the proc is called, blows things up like crazy. So definitely recommend that, at least on a weapon if you're going to run it. It's not very tanky, so keep that in mind. Holy. I have not really messed around with Holy. I've only gotten it tier 4. But my friend Bobby is going for tier 15 Holy. He is running a fencer currently, and he destroys things. So I'm not surprised. Okay, next. Lyric. You could do a Lyric Bard fencer with like Blackguard. That could be interesting. When I run around with friends that are bards and I run Blackguard, I stack a bunch of diseases that do like 70 to 100 a tick. So that's nice. It's free damage. Poison. Poison is definitely one that is recommended with fencing because of Fang Stance. You want to buff your poison disease and your poison damage and damage the poison creatures as much as possible. So that's a very good one to go with. I've never used it, but I know at high tiers, I personally get out damaged by poison fencers quite a bit whenever I run into them. So just keep an eye out for that. Shadow. If you haven't seen my backstabber video, Shadow, a backstabbing fencer, is fantastic if you're using Blackguard. You're gonna get disease ticks that tick for 700 to what? I've had 1800 in a single tick before. So Shadow, fantastic with fencing. Void. Void's always good. You're tanky and you get a chance to ignore armor. So it's just straight damage. So that would be a go for me. Though I would avoid the weapon. The weapon proc, not very good. That 10-second delay kind of sucks when you really need a proc. So, War I have not tested, but I know the proc is pretty broken from what I've been told. And Water. Water's unique. I wouldn't recommend it for fencing. If anything, I'd recommend Water for swordsmanship or wrestling. So, that's about it. So, anyway, guys, I'm done. That is the video for now. Little random, I know. Tried to keep it short this time. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys for the next one, which will be our final Codex video. It will be on the Perry Codex, which is the most broken Codex that there is. I will explain it whenever we get there. I hope to see you guys next time. So have a fantastic day, and thank you for stopping by to watch my video. I will see you next time.